27 years of my life. It's the day that I just turned 27 years old. Anyway, so I had a little bit of help from ChatGPT because I was feeling quite reflective before I go on to the next activity for my date. Clearly you can see I'm kind of dressed up. It's nice to dress up every now and then for that indulgent experience. And I mean, why not? It's a good way to be able to celebrate me being 27 years old. And I don't actually normally get to celebrate my birthday a lot. And since I'm living in Sydney, Australia, I don't really have my family here. If I was back in the Philippines, I would probably be going out on a dinner with my immediate family, who I miss a lot. But here I am. Right now, I'm just chilling by myself, which gives me some time to be able to reflect on the things that I probably have learned and experienced in the past couple of months of my life. And I have not really prepared the answers to these questions, so again, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna make it a little bit chatty and see how that goes. And I'll get started. So ChatGPT gave me a couple of categories. The first one is the category about, well, what was the theme of my 26th year of my life and why did I choose it? Well, to be honest, I don't remember if I actually set a very set and clear theme for the 26th year of my birthday, but I do remember setting a theme for the year 2024, which was about lasting connections or connections that last and female friendships. And that was for 24, but the year before that, it was more about femininity and discovering womanhood. And how do you feel now compared to when you turn 26? As per usual, I don't feel anything special or like a big change happening in my body, but I'm trying to remember what I was doing when I just turned 26. I think that was the first birthday that I had being here in Australia. And I was still living in this previous place in a different suburb. I think the weather was almost similar to this one, where it was really rainy. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I probably just decided to stay in. And I didn't really have a lot of connections yet at that time, so I felt really lonely, but also I was kind of like forced to reflect a little bit more and become more intentional about the next months of my life because I was so focused on surviving for the first couple of months that I moved to Australia. But now, as I turn 27, I'm not really that much in survival mode anymore, at least financially, because I had a little bit of more time to be able to adjust a little bit more in my life here in Sydney, thankfully, gratefully, which is really nice. And I feel loved, I feel pretty remembered, I feel a bit more confident about myself and where I'm at, how I know myself and where I'm gonna go for the next couple of months. Not in an arrogant way, but I'm just feeling really happy that I feel a little bit more comfortable with my own skin about what I actually want and prefer in life, as well as the things that I kind of dislike. So that's the first part. And physically, I'm just feeling a bit sick right now. I'm not gonna lie. My throat is a bit itchy. I don't remember how I was feeling, whether I was in perfect health condition when I just turned 26, but anyway. Well, the first one is, what did you learn about building and maintaining meaningful relationships? It's a very good question. What I learned about building and maintaining meaningful relationships. Okay, when it comes to building meaningful relationships, it's good to be intentional about where you're going to meet the people that you want to meet. So, for example, I'm not saying that people who go to parties and clubs are not meaningful people or that you cannot create meaningful connections with them, but just based on my values and the trajectory that I want to go in life, I wanted to meet people who were working on themselves, working on their values and trying to uplift some moral values overall in today's world. And building a meaningful connection, friendship, relationship, wherever that is, I think starts within yourself, like a healthy relationship with yourself. So I had to really make sure that I knew that I was working towards the hobbies and interests that I was actually genuinely feeling that I desire and genuinely curious about. And those things were about dancing, about spirituality in some sense, health and fitness, mental health. And so what I learned when it comes to building meaningful relationships, it's good to put yourself out there in places that you're genuinely interested in as an individual. And of course, being able to just start complimenting, appreciating people for what you have seen in them. I think being able to practice some gratitude practices, it really changed my perspective about the present moment, not just about myself, but even other people. Like, it became so much easier for me to tell someone that this is what I like about what I notice about them. Like, hey, I really like the way that you articulate things, or I like your outfit. And just being able to genuinely say that without coming across as if I am trying to manipulate them. At least for me, based on my own personal experiences, I've had many positive receptions of when I tried to strike up conversations with people in that way, with a compliment or something that I really genuinely noticed I appreciate about them. So that really helps a lot when it comes to building relationships. And when it comes to maintaining relationships though, it's like, I remember when I was young, I would really think about and get so preoccupied about, but how do you maintain relationships and all that? That's the hardest part when it comes to maintaining relationships. And I was so attached to the outcome of making that connection last. Now it just allowed me to let go of the outcomes, and being able to let go of the outcomes, oddly enough, actually allowed more space for me to just naturally enjoy the connections and relationships that I have created. Meaning, I just enjoyed the fullness of the capacity of the relationship that I've had. So maintaining relationships became more natural because I was not trying to force it to last longer, and I was able to just let go of the relationship or the connection if it just naturally faded away. And if it still felt good, I would just continue with it. That naturally comes out when the other person would suggest activities for us to continue doing, or me suggesting some things for us to do. Yeah, letting go what other people might perceive about you, and letting go of outcomes of relationships lasting, or just it should last 4 years, 5 years. That's like too much. And next one, were there any surprising moments or connections that stood out? Ooh, that's a good one. I would say, yeah, absolutely. There are some surprising connections that stood out for me. I would say, even just recently, as in the month of November, in my birth month, I was able to create some connections that made me open up a little bit more on this other side of myself that I don't normally touch on. So I think you know who you are. Anyway, connections that stood out for me, I would say mostly are the female friendships that I have, that I was able to create during my 26 to 27 year transition. I am so grateful for the female friendships that I was able to craft. Even when I was 26 years old, when I was living in my previous place, I have this one female housemate, and even though we had like some differences in approaches and perspectives in life, we were still able to gel well together. I don't know why, but maybe I was just craving that female friendship a lot, and I shifted my perspective from thinking that other women are competition, like really on a deeply rooted level. Now I'm really advocating for women so much, and when I say advocating for women, I want them to receive the best. Like, I want them to receive the best type of treatment from everyone in life. In general, for women to realize they're worth a little bit more. Yeah, so there's that one female housemate that I had in my previous place, then one female connection that I made in church. I think you know who. I'm not gonna name drop people here, but yeah, some connections in church because I did go back to church. Another one from, just an online connect for women, for girls here in Sydney. We just went out for one walk one day, but we realized there are so many things that we actually had in common. Like, we want our schedules to be filled. And that was during the time where I was really focused on building more intentional female friendships instead of just going on dates, going out with men. I'll touch on that later on. But yeah, it's good to have that. And I felt so connected to this one female friend. And as we continued like hanging out at some point, after so many years, this was one of the first times that I actually did share a lot about my life. And when I say my life, it was about my upbringing, my mental health journey. So I really appreciated that one. Okay, next. How have your ideas of lasting connections evolved over the past year? So I think it's kind of tied up with what I said earlier in the previous question. When it comes to the idea of lasting connections, I think it's really more about letting go of any particular outcomes and starting to focus a little bit more on what did this other person make me feel during our connection overall, and wonder how I made this other person feel during our connection as well. Also, not taking things personally. Sometimes people are just naturally busy and they're going through their own lives as well, which is amazing that, progress is happening in their lives. It's okay that some connections would last. That's amazing. And sometimes, people's lives intersect in this one point, and then you continue to go towards different directions. But I think the most important thing is when you reach that intersection right here, that point right there that you guys did meet, that you make the most out of it. And you make the most out of it by embodying authenticity, vulnerability, allowing intimacy to happen. Intimacy, not necessarily physical intimacy. Okay, like when I say intimacy, it could be emotional as well, psychological, intellectual. You allow this other person to see you for who you are, and that of course entails a lot of self-awareness to be able to share a little bit more about yourself. So just having that idea or diagram in my mind, and most importantly, the relationship that would last, that you would carry all throughout your life, most importantly, is your relationship with yourself as an individual. So I use that as an anchor towards myself, and of course my family is there too. Even the cats, I miss them so much. Yeah, all right, I'm just gonna go through the next one. The next category, since I've been talking about female friendships, what role did female friendships play in your life this year? Amazing, really amazing. It did make me feel a little bit more whole as a female, as a woman, as I'm discovering womanhood. It's nice to hear other women's perspectives and where they're at in life, whether they are women who are in a different life stage. When I say different life stage, like motherhood or singlehood, almost the same stage as me, building their own empire at the moment, married ones who may have children and having these unique stories in their lives. It's lovely. It's like it made myself a bit more distinct. It really clarified a little bit more about the personality that I have compared to other people and other women without me having to feel like I should be like this person. There's just more assuredness about who I am becoming and who I want to become while celebrating other people for their uniqueness, which is amazing. It's just, again, so much appreciation. It also made me realize about, of course, really defining a little bit more what kind of woman do I want to become. Yeah, I feel just really grateful right now being able to be here in Sydney because I was able to meet these beautiful women and just going through life. It's amazing. And can you share a memorable experience with a close female friend or group of friends? I did have one or two memorable experiences with two female friends that I have in mind. One is from church. You know who you are if you're watching this one. We hired a car because we were just sharing the same feeling of, hey, I'm gonna go on an adventure. We went to the Blue Mountains together and we were just talking about things that matter to us in life. We had a really wonderful conversation about a little bit about our testimonies and our faith, questions about faith, about Christianity, and our convictions as Christians, because I'm still figuring things out when it comes to Christianity in some ways. And just being able to air out in a more authentic way about how we feel about that was amazing. We shared many laughs, we shared some shared frustrations as well. The most memorable part is the part where we opened up our hearts. I felt like that, and it really made me feel closer towards her. So that was one memorable experience. So the second memory that I have is with another female friend of mine. I think I did mention this a little bit earlier. This one female friend of mine that I went on a walk with, and then I realized that we have a lot of things in common, that we like to keep our schedules filled up, like we're always on the go. And the most memorable experience I've had with her was when I actually did open up to her. And I really liked the part where at some point we were so close, she was deciding on moving to this another apartment after years of living in this one old apartment that she's in. And I felt so grateful that she came to me and like run her ideas through me, whether she should go for that apartment, and even with the housemates that she's going to go for. And right now, she's thriving. I'm so happy she's thriving. Everything that she was working towards when it comes to the goals, ambitions that she wanted to work for, building her own organization, she is really taking strides, not steps. She's taking strides to be able to get there just by this one major decision of moving to a different apartment. And I'm very happy that she is living that kind of life right now. You know who you are, girl. And I'm just happy. I'm just very happy for you if you're watching this one and if you're still at this point. Okay, but next question, how do you plan to strengthen your friendships moving forward? Oh, that's a good one. To strengthen my friendships moving forward, I think the best and most service that I could do is to take good care of myself. I know it sounds selfish, but hear me out. When I take good care of myself and I keep on growing myself, when I get to talk with these females or these friends that I get to probably talk with again, I hope that it would make our friendship strengthened, or that they would remember our connection as something that feels stable and, you know, something that really sticks with their values. I mean, I would miss, of course, the fun experiences that we're going to have in case that I do move to a different city. So that's why I'm just kind of taking out the part where, of course, to strengthen the friendship, we could continue hanging out and do some fun activities, create some laughs. But yeah, that's the plan. Alrighty, my throat hurts as heck. That was a chatty video for sure. I might actually do this in 2 parts. And I'll probably see you next time.